Ewan, let's talk about Modern Warfare 3 again, because when you think the blazing infernos died down, people just keep throwing the oil on there, just stoking the flames a little bit more. Quite a lot of stuff to get to in regards to the last few days of Modern Warfare 3 and how much worse the scenario's gotten. One being that Activision are pulling maps from the game's rotation because apparently the spawns are even worse than they usually are. Now, obviously, Call of Duty spawns are always talked about anyway, nearly every year, but it seems like this one is actually pretty broken. The game's frame rate is also in the single digits most of the time. The game's netcode seems to be kind of on fire. So that's really, really bad. The map quarries being cited as one of the worst things. One of the other biggest things is Bloomberg's Jason Schreier revealing that the game was turned around in just 16 months. He notes in his report over on Bloomberg that Sledgehammer did apparently want to work on another Advanced Warfare game rather than Modern Warfare 3, but Activision forced them to turn this over instead. This is where it gets really damage control, just kind of sad and tragic, where Sledgehammer are now out there sharing various statements saying that no, the game was a labor of love. This report is false. We weren't forced to turn this over in 16 months. It's something that we've been planning for years. But it's very, very clear from the state of the game and the fact that the game itself requests the Modern Warfare 2 disc to verify itself, or it did back at launch before that was patched, that this was very much Modern Warfare 2 DLC. It lines up with the previous news story that we did, on the state of the game and how it was initially they were going to skip this year, but instead they turned this around. So there's a little bit more in terms of like how this sits in the wider Call of Duty rollout as a franchise, but thoughts in general.
I mean, we're all just collectively ghost giving the side eye to the series now, aren't we? Just like, it's just sad. Like, I feel like it's kind of patently obvious that, again, like neither of us have been involved in the development of this game, so it could be the case that Sledgehammer are telling the truth, and this was a huge, passionate labour of love, which, having seen the game, it doesn't really come across, and I hate to say that. Everything that you say, like, the evidence is pointing towards Schreier's reporting, and again, Jason Schreier is like the authority in the games industry in terms of, getting scoops, being a really great reporter. It lines up with the idea, like you said, that this was DLC and it was extended over into an actual full project. You see that in the campaign where you have like the traditional linear Call of Duty levels kind of really padded out by these open combat missions, which are really, really, really bad and completely antithetical to the series. I don't know, it's just a shame. I mean, the spawn stuff, like, I feel like we've been complaining about Call of Duty spawns since the original Modern Warfare in 2007. This has not been the thing, and again, it was really bad in the beta that they did the other month. Like, literally, you'd spawn and there'd be a guy right behind you. So I don't know, man. It's the same old with this. I mean, like, Modern Warfare, I say the same old. With the spawn stuff, it feels that way. Modern Warfare 3 overall, kind of like, this is the most glorified bit of DLC that we've seen. Yeah. This does feel kind of like a new low for the series. Like, even after the whole, Infinite Warfare, like, getting most disliked gaming trailer of all time or whatever. Say what you will about that game. I know that people actually have come on to reappraise the campaign. I mean, you reviewed the campaign very well when it first came out and stuff, so you've been there flying that flag since the beginning. But for Modern Warfare 3, this feels... It's just I don't like the idea that they've had to come out and be like, well, no, actually it is a passion project, because if it was a passion project, then how that makes it worse, because it's also not good.
No, and it's like, if it was a passion project, then like fair, like obviously the people are passionate who make it, they're extremely talented people, but one of the things in Schreier's initial report was that people were ostensibly crunching to get it over the finish line, like working very late evenings, working weekends, just constantly working to turn it over. There is a crossover potentially there for passion project stuff, but at the same time it still feels more like this was just turned around in a very short time frame, and the general reception on the dev side, from the report side of things, is that just a level of confusion as to what the hell they were putting together, and then, okay, by the way, this is going to be the next main installment. One of the most glaring things that reinforces that is that Call of Duty in 20 odd years has never done two of its mini series in a row. Like, it's always Black Ops, Modern Warfare, Advanced Warfare, whatever. They've never just done two in a row like this before, and it's a strange thing, because I still love the 2019 Modern Warfare. I still think that was when that came out, I thought that was the best Call of Duty they'd done in quite some time. Like, I thought that really stood out as a really solid, mechanically tight, innovative, what do you want to call it, like a refined version of Call of Duty that they've had in quite some time. And then it's like they just burned through Modern Warfare 2, burned through Modern Warfare 3. It was like, just get it out the way, I guess, because the Activision deal was closing.
Yeah, so 2019 Modern Warfare, that was Infinity Ward. And then after that we had had what was after the 2019 Modern Warfare?
It was like Vanguard or something.
No, it was Black Ops Cold War, wasn't it? Black Ops Cold War, which was that was Treyarch.
Treyarch, yeah.
And then we had Vanguard. Well, Modern Warfare 2, and then we had Vanguard, which was Sledgehammer, I believe. And then now...
Modern Warfare 2 was last year, because then we've got Modern Warfare 3 this year, because it was like, let's just turn them over as fast as possible.
Oh my god, sorry. I'm completely... The Call of Duty timelines absolutely frazzled my brain here.
That's the thing. That's why it feels so just like... And it's not even communicated very well. Like I said, they've established a cadence that they've then gone back on themselves, which, it's one of those things where they could have done this revitalized version of that trilogy story, and then now you've got the Makarov, no Russian stuff in Modern Warfare 3 instead of 2, but it's a new version of it, but it doesn't take place in an airport, but it does take place in an airplane, and it's like we're trying to do all these things to make it fit the feeling that you had when you went through the first few games, but it's very, very messy, and I was like, they could have planned this all so much better. They have more money than God or whatever, and there was no reason to just sort of crank it out. But yeah, the way that it's rolled out and the way that it is right now, it just I mean, I don't think it's necessarily unsalvageable, but it would take quite a Herculean effort to actually turn it over.
I know, but even then, like, it's still going to be a huge success. I think we mentioned before we came on here, I'm expecting new sales records to be broken. Like, even with Call of Duty now as both a paid service and as a free-to-play platform, people are still going to go out and pay the $70 to play a new Modern Warfare game because it is the benchmark. It should be the gold standard of the series. It's what turned Call of Duty into a worldwide phenomenon. There's clearly lots of love for the narratives of these games. Captain Price is an icon. Ghost is like the Jar Jar Binks of Call of Duty, where he's just a really minor character that everyone loves. And you have something, again, like you said, the campaign's doing the same thing over and over again. We're just going to do what we did before, but we're actually going to have Glenn Morshower play Shepard this time, which is just like, I don't know, man. It just... I tapped out of the Call of Duty trade a very long time ago, so these games are not for me anymore.
I'd say one thing that I'm curious about is, like, I wonder how much Phil Spencer and the Xbox and the Microsoft side of things are kind of kicking themselves that they went through a year's worth of deals, a year's worth of tightening this stuff up to get it over the finish line, and they've bought the worst version of this franchise. Like, this is the lowest rated Call of Duty ever, especially on the audience side, but even the critic side, it's only got a 50 over on Metacritic. It is one of the worst reviewed games of the year. Like, it's underneath Redfall and Forspoken. Like, it's a very bad release. Like, there are obviously bits of it that are mechanically tight enough, but it's very much in the shadow of Modern Warfare 1 and 2, and I would say especially Modern Warfare 1. But that's the thing, I'm like, going forward, I think it is one of those things. Maybe Call of Duty's big enough where the average person just isn't even thinking about anything other than, I've bought the new Modern Warfare and I'll just wait for the patches or whatever it is. Or does this affect the rollout going forward if they want to change that cadence anyway? Like, they want to put something out every couple of years, they want to make it a free-to-play platform or put it on Game Pass or whatever it is. I think it's interesting that finally this deal goes over the finish line, and the worst version of it is what's now going forward under completely new leadership, especially once various members like Bobby Kotick and whatever have left. That's like a weird point in time for gaming.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that, Xbox are able to go in and basically gut Activision and take out all the rot and, look after the people that work there. Because like you said before, there are loads of really talented developers there, really talented studios. I mean, we've spoken at length before about how, like, places like Raven and High Moon, who used to make really, really good games, have been saddled into the Call of Duty machine, and I don't think Xbox are going to change that at all. But you would hope that they put in place those developmental processes that, will make Call of Duty still a big earner for them, but not at the expense of quality or, human well-being. So, yeah, I mean, I think in the long term, Call of Duty will be fine. Like, I think it's one of those where I'm quite surprised that, given that we've had quite a few Call of Duties, like, over the last 2 years, I feel like really lag in quality. They've never really lagged in terms of critics' consensus. I'm trying to remember if Infinite Warfare kind of got below a 70 on Metacritic. I'm not sure that.
No, I mean, Infinite Warfare was still, like, super tight. It was just the general sort of fan response, which was fair enough for what that IP was at the time.
But yeah, with this, it's like a case of, like, well, no, there is a critical and audience consensus that this game isn't just bad by Call of Duty standards, it's just bad. Which, again, it's one of those things. It's Activision's last proper Call of Duty game under the old regime, so, it probably, again, like, I feel like it's one of those where I don't think this is going to damage the long-term prospects of the brand. I think people still turn up to this. I had a mate who didn't know about any of the reports about the game being DLC, and he messaged me after it came out being like, oh yeah, the campaign's really terrible. So, I think it's one of those things.
Got his money at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's difficult. When you're a casual gamer, you're not really going to be getting invested in all the different reports and behind the scenes stuff. So, Yeah, sorry, there's a war zone going on outside my window right now.
The Activision lawyers have found us. Yeah, it is interesting to see it all kind of play out. I love that perspective. I want more perspectives from people who just, it is their game, it is their one game of the year, not in terms of a quality thing necessarily, but the one thing they pick up. Like, you get it with FIFA, you get it with certain titles where it's like, this is the one thing I'm getting, that's what I've been looking forward to, and that's what I'm going to put my money into in terms of microtransactions for the whole year long. Obviously, that monetization model isn't something I'm personally a fan of, but at the same time, I'm fascinated by those people. Are they still satisfied? Do they still turn up next year? And I'm just so like, if you were Microsoft right now, it's like, yeah, do you go in, do you try and gut the turnaround that led to this and just remind everybody that they can calm the F down, we don't need to turn something over year on year, and then you don't have a Call of Duty for 2 years, maybe 3 years, whatever it is, and just let these things meet themselves out a little bit.
I mean, there's like, how many studios are involved in Call of Duty right now, Scott? We've got Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and like Raven and High Moon as support studios. There's probably some other studios I'm forgetting that are involved in this whole, process or whatever. Yeah. There's more than enough resources and talent and manpower for this not to have to be rushed. Better planning would ensure that this isn't an issue. I think from Schreier's reports, it's very much a case that maybe Activision panicked and were like, well, before the deal goes through, we need to get like a full game out rather than a DLC. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, again, Call of Duty's long-term prospects, it'll be fine. It doesn't, but the other issue is that it doesn't have to be fine. Like, they could continue to make, I feel like they could continue to make games like this and it won't be that issue. Is it a case that we now have a game franchise that is too big to fail?
That's the weirdest thing, is that you're under the Microsoft banner, you're under the Xbox Game Pass banner. There's a level of quality that's supposed to come alongside that, and it's the previous example being Starfield, that was going to come out last year, but they spent a whole year polishing it. And Starfield still has its bugs and its issues and everything, but because it is that tip of the spear for the Xbox identity, it needs to be a stronger thing. Does that? Yeah. Do they spend the time on Call of Duty that way and make sure that it lives up to a certain level of quality? Even across the last few days, there was a general conversation around how Microsoft are steering into AI implementation in terms of using games going forward, and how that sort of jars with the idea of creatives first and giving them the funding through Game Pass, rather than just replacing them with voice packs and stuff like that, in terms of an apocalyptic view of how that could go. But yeah, they have a lot of different ways they're going forward, and I think like buying Call of Duty as a way of bolstering Game Pass is like a fascinating way to go, because it's not like Game Pass is like blowing up. Like Phil Spencer says himself, that it takes up the same amount of their bottom line as it has for the last few years, and that bottom line might get bigger, but the percentage that Game Pass takes up isn't that much. It's 17% or something last I checked. And so I think it's interesting. I think all that and the rest of the generation is a very fascinating thing to watch. But closing thoughts on Modern Warfare 3, are you going to be picking it up? I'm actually not. This is the first one I've not bought in, I don't even know how long, 5, 6, 7 years?
Yeah, I mean, I've not been picking up Call of Duty annually since, the last one that I bought properly was Modern Warfare 2019, and I bounced off the multiplayer for that because of the spawns issues. And I think it's just because like my own video game tastes have changed. Like, I'm much more into slower paced, tactical niche stuff like a Hell Let Loose, where even if there is jank to it, it's a more compelling gaming experience to me, because I'm getting more out of it than just kind of, hopping in for a quick dose of adrenaline where I'm just sprinting around and sliding and shooting people. That's not really kind of what I'm here for. So no, I probably won't
That's
be
entirely what I'm there for.
Probably won't be picking it up if it comes out on PlayStation Plus at some point in the future, which I doubt now that there's the Activision thing. Then maybe I'll get it for free and blitz through the campaign, but it's not really a priority for me. I think for me, the thing that would get me back into Call of Duty, and I think I've been advocating for Microsoft to do this now that they have the license, is actually just get a big bundle, a Call of Duty bundle, like the Halo Master Chief Collection. Just do that with like the golden Call of Duty, the golden years, and you go from like Modern Warfare through to like Black Ops 2, and you have all those campaigns and multiplayer modes, so you can kind of go in and amongst all that. I would probably be down for something like that, but as things are, it's a no from me.